Hey, welcome. We're going to continue talking about the aftermath of World War One. Today we're going to focus on a troubled peace. So in the first lesson, we talked about some of the consequences for World War One. The last lesson, we talked about the Paris Peace Conference and the negotiations for that. So during the Paris Peace Conference, you have 32 countries or nationalities meeting to negotiate into the World War One. Germany was not invited, nor were any of the other Central Powers. Russia, who fought on the side of the Allies during World War One but exited the war early, was not invited. And it was really dominated by the big three, Britain, France, and the United States. Some people include Italy and call it the Big Four. And these three countries had a lot of different opinions on how things should go. France wanted to be very aggressive towards Germany. They wanted a harsh punishment. They wanted to ensure that Germany could not attack them again and wanted Germany to help pay for a lot of the war damages. The United States wanted what some people call just peace or peace without victory. Their main negotiator was Woodrow Wilson, who was president of the United States at the time. They wanted what he had called the 14 points to preserve a lasting peace after World War I. He did not want Germany to be punished too harshly because he thought it would be bad and lead to maybe a future war. And then you have Britain, who's kind of in the middle. They wanted Germany punished and to protect France, but they didn't want Germany punished so much that it would hurt Germany's economy and cut off trade. They didn't want France to become too powerful. And Britain's main goals were to preserve their naval supremacy and preserve their overseas colonies and set up mandates in new territory. And Britain serves as a mediator between the United States and France for many of these negotiations. With these countries having different opinions and the other countries involved having different opinions, in the end, compromises were made to end the disputes between the winning nations, and nobody seemed completely satisfied in terms of the peace. Nobody seemed to really get what they wanted. So many people think that peace negotiations were ineffective, a lot of compromise, no one seemed satisfied with the terms of the peace, and then some members of the Allies, particularly Russia, who was not invited, Italy, and Japan felt betrayed by the big three. Russia lost a lot of land after World War I. Italy was not given all the land that they were promised under the Treaty of London in 1915, and Japan felt like they were not treated equally to the other members of the Allies. They tried to pass a racial equality clause that got shot down, and they also wanted to keep all the land that they took over during World War I, and they were not able to keep all their land, only some of it. So while Russia, Italy, and Japan felt like they were betrayed, many of the problems that troubled Europe before World War I are going to continue after the end of the war. Less than 20 years later, nearly all of Europe is going to be in turmoil. There's going to be another war. World War II is going to break out as you have these military acts of aggression. You have dictators coming to power. Eastern Europe was greatly changed during World War I. So the land from Germany, Russia, Austria, Hungary, and the Ottomans, taken after World War I, is split up and several new countries were formed. Austria and Hungary were split up. Czechoslovakia was a new country formed. Estonia, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Turkey, Yugoslavia were all new countries or countries that were recreated after World War I. And then in the Middle East, you have British and French mandates. So most of Europe experienced economic problems because of World War I and the Russian Civil War. So Eastern Europe, a lot of these new countries are going to have economic problems stemming from the war and other causes. And Western European countries, the United States, things seem to be going well. They're going to experience economic growth early on, but most of these countries began to struggle later with inflation. So there were signs of economic problems that were ignored, and these are finally going to be realized with the stock market crash in 1929, and this will lead to the Great Depression. Inflation and the Great Depression also created political problems in Europe, and Japan. This is going to give rise to the popularity of the Nazi Party in Germany. Japan's military is going to gain more power as a result of the economic problems from the Great Depression. So after World War I, Russia, Italy, Germany, all unhappy with the way World War I ended, are going to eventually set up totalitarian dictatorships. While in Japan, you have the military gain more power. These governments are upset with the end of World War I, largely responsible for the start of World War II. The Soviet Union is led by Joseph Stalin, leader of the Communist Party. He is going to replace Vladimir Lenin, who was the leader who got Russia out of World War I and won the Russian Civil War. Then Italy is going to be taken over by Benito Mussolini, the leader of the Fascist Party. And then lastly, you have Germany taken over by Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. All three of these set up totalitarian dictatorships. Totalitarianism is a government where a leader has complete power. Opposing parties are forbidden. So, for example, Germany got rid of the Communist Party and then later on other parties that went against the Nazi Party's ideas. Individual freedoms are restricted, and the government controls nearly every aspect of people's lives. So, dictator in charge, outlaws opposing political parties, restricts individual freedoms. They also use secret police and state terrorism, similar to what you saw during the French Revolution in a previous unit. You have religious persecution or state atheism, once again similar to what you saw in the French Revolution in a previous unit. And then propaganda, the cult of personality. So propaganda is the spread of information to help or hurt a cause. You have the cult of personality, where people are taught from a young age to adore Mussolini or Hitler or Stalin, and these kind of folk legends of their childhood or things that they accomplished before becoming a leader. And then you have possible mass murder and genocide. Joseph Stalin, Hitler, and Mussolini all had very violent histories. Hitler obviously is well known for his role in the Holocaust. Joseph Stalin had a very brutal way of treating people in Ukraine who disagreed with him, and basically anybody who went against him. And Mussolini had his had his black shirts that were kind of his party's personal army that would go around and disrupt government meetings and torture or possibly kill those who spoke against Mussolini or did not vote the way Mussolini wanted them to vote. Japan set up a military dictatorship. They had a prime minister, but the military gained more and more power. Japan was also angered with the terms of the Paris Peace Conference, specifically the racial clause getting denied and them having to give up some of the land that they took from World War I. The Japanese military became more influential in Japan after World War I, and they go ahead and start to take over more land, similar to what they did with China and Korea before World War I. And they're eventually going to start another war with China. So we already talked about the Sino-Japanese War before World War I. This is the second Sino-Japanese War that starts in the 1930s and will kind of continue throughout World War II. All right, that's the end of this unit. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, let me know. Please make sure you fill out your notes and your study guide and review any information you think is necessary. Thanks for listening. Let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you later. Bye.